I want to bring in here former Dallas Mayor Steve Bartlett, who just endorsed John Kasich today. Mayor, very good to have you. Why Kasich? Why not Cruz? I assume you're not a big fan of Donald Trump. Explain why you did what you did.
Yeah, all of the above. I think John Kasich actually has opened up a window tonight in Ohio. I don't think my endorsement put him over the top in Ohio. He was going to do that. But there's a window there, and the window is to get this to a convention with no one having a majority on the first ballot, and then have the convention do what conventions historically are supposed to do, and that is to consider the candidates, listen to them, debate, and figure out a way forward. Right now, I think the Republican Party is the direction we're on now is right at the edge of a precipice in which we'll just jump off with you know, a party of exclusion, a party.
But Mayor, can you see a mathematical means by which the governor can do that?
Oh yes,
I think 129 delegates, or whatever. I mean, that's a long way from the 619 at a minimum Donald Trump has.
With multiple candidates, then you can get it to a convention where no one wins on the first ballot.
Right.
Remember, the principle here is that someone, in order to be nominated, you have to get a majority of the delegates. Right. And I think with 3 people in the race and the Rubio delegates that now can go anywhere, then you can get it to less than a majority on the first ballot.
Yeah, those Rubio delegates, I agree, they're going to play a pivotal role here.
Right.
But is it your sense, the reason why you went for Kasich, despite the daunting odds, can you really conceivably see, I'm looking at these future states, Mayor, and I don't know. I guess Pennsylvania, but as Lou Dobbs pointed out, technically he's not formally on the ballot. There's been a dispute about that. So he could be robbed of a chance to pick up the 71 delegates in that winner's-take-all state.
It's the only hope forward. I mean, if we continue down a path of excluding everybody that's not me or one person, everybody doesn't agree with me on everything, then John Kasich is the only candidate on the field right now that can beat Hillary Clinton in the fall.
Where does he win?
Oh, he will pick up delegates as we go along. He doesn't have to get to a majority on the first ballot.
Right.
But if no one else gets to a majority, then you have a convention, and the convention. Yeah. But John Kasich is the only candidate there that can defeat Hillary in the fall.
You know, the question, Lou Dobbs here, and I just am curious because Kasich ran on a very liberal agenda. He is promising amnesty within 100 days for illegal immigrants. He is not talking, he's talking about the status quo in perpetuity when it comes to border security. He is anti-TPP. He is completely the opposite of what I would think a conservative Republican would want or even consider. And yet you've endorsed him, and I don't understand how that works.
By contrary, I think he's very conservative, fiscal conservative. He was a guy with a balanced budget to reduce spending so that you can get to a balanced budget. Back to your point earlier.
I'll concede he's a fiscal conservative. Is that enough to soothe
and the economy and trade, and he has 4 jobs and 4 trade. And I heard y'all's discussion about that a minute ago. The fact is that trade, global trade, creates jobs and creates economics. And you said that you disagree with that, but I think the facts would bear that out. That's what John Kasich
The facts are these, Mayor. You know, only 1 out of every 5 jobs in this country is directly related to trade. Trade itself is not a bad thing, and as you suggest, it's good. What is bad is 40 years of consecutive deficits. Trade deficits. What is bad is the loss of millions of manufacturing jobs. What is bad is not a middle class that is growing, but that is shrinking and who've had static wages for the past 20 years, Mayor. And that is the consequence of the policies that you're talking about, and so is John Kasich.
Well, trade has helped the economy and helped people bring better jobs and live better lives.
As I said,
that's a fact.
But it hasn't for the past 20 years because, as I said, trade is good. But this trade, which results in $325 billion a year in deficit to China, this is a country that has significant imbalances, and the middle class in this country, working men and women and their families, are paying a price for it because both parties have pursued the same absurd policy, indifferent to the results.
I can't believe I'm in a debate on trade with the great Lou Dobbs, but the facts will bear it out.
I'm just trying to keep the facts straight.
Economic prosperity happens as a result of trade.
Amen.
Because you create high value jobs that way, and that's so.
Mr. Mayor,
but on John Kasich, well, I guess what I'm saying is that John Kasich, as a candidate of inclusion and optimism and opening up the doors as opposed to narrowing the party's base, is the one candidate that could beat Hillary Clinton.
Mr. Mayor, let me just ask you this. Just listening to you, you kind of parroted some of the stuff I said about a convention, a contested convention. But
right.
Let's be clear here. Now, let's make this reality. We're talking about the Tet Offensive here. We are talking about, you know, pirates fighting each other. This is going to be one nasty fight to wrest this out of, you know, they're going to be killing each other in Cleveland. You guys, you establishment guys are really ready to go there?
I'm not an establishment guy, but I think we have to go there. I think that's what a convention has to do. The convention is going to have to sort this one out. The primaries, I think, are not going to give us a candidate
but how are you going to
beat Hillary Clinton in the fall.
Well, okay, but here's the thing, though. You are thwarting the will. It's Kennedy, by the way. Very nice to talk to you. You are thwarting the will of voters in this country. And, you know, if Donald Trump is not your guy, if this is a person that you cannot support, if this is a person that offends the foundation of your very sensibilities, that's one thing. Then run a better candidate. And I'm sorry, but every candidate is beatable, even Donald Trump, and the people who run against him have not figured out a way to beat him. And I think going to a convention and having some sort of a contested enterprise is so condescending, it's so offensive, and I don't necessarily have a problem with it because I'm not a party person, but for people who have been loyal Republicans, they are going to be so upset they will leave their party for good. And I guess in a sense that's great because maybe you will make the next Ronald Reagan who will say, you know, I didn't leave my party left me, and that's essentially what you're doing.
Somehow, what you've said and what Donald Trump has said is that somehow a candidate that gets a minority of the votes is somehow entitled to the nomination, and that's not true. The convention, as all things, are majority rules, and so someone has to get a majority of the delegates in order to get the nomination.
All right.
And just because you get a strong minority does not mean that you're entitled to the nomination, nor should you get the nomination.
All right, Mayor,
should be a majority.
The point's taken.